This man has woken up from a terrible car crash unscathed, but unbeknownst to him, a horrible reality is about to dawn upon him. A man named Nathan wakes up lying in the middle of a road on the side of a mountain. He was in a horrible car crash, but he considers himself incredibly lucky because he appears to have made it out without a scratch. He turns around and sees a man named Daniel, who was on the bike in front of him that his car collided with. Nathan apologizes to Daniel, but then remarks that they're both very fortunate to have made it out of such a horrible accident completely unscathed. Daniel looks at Nathan curiously and asks him to really take a look at the extent of the damage to their vehicles. He asks Nathan whether he remembers crawling out of the car. Nathan replies that he doesn't. The last thing he remembers is hitting his head on the dashboard. Daniel asks him to check if there is a wound on his head, and Nathan realizes there isn't one. Nathan still can't figure out what Daniel is trying to say, and finally Daniel tells him straight up. He says they did not make it out alive. They are both dead. Nathan thinks he is crazy. He tells Daniel to look around him. This moment is real and they are very much alive. Daniel tells Nathan it's okay. He'll take some time to adjust. Daniel's been here for a while because he died on the spot, but Nathan was still alive for some time after the accident. Nathan still refuses to believe him, and Daniel suggests that there is a simple way to get to the truth. Nathan just has to look into the wrecked car. Nathan walks to the car and sees his own dead body in the driver's seat. He is shocked. He starts freaking out, unable to believe or process what he is seeing. Panicking, he starts mumbling things like he was only 45 and he had his whole life ahead of him. He had kids to look after. Daniel replies that people always think they have their whole lives ahead of them until they die. Nathan snaps at him and says, "This isn't really the time for a philosophical life lesson. I'll have to side with him on that one." Daniel becomes sad and says that he will miss his wife. He remembers that she did warn him not to purchase a motorcycle. Even in death, you can't escape the "I told you so" speech from the missus. Then, Daniel suddenly realizes that life after death is real, and all the implications of that. He becomes excited. Meanwhile, Nathan starts going into denial. He deduces that he's in surgery right now after the accident, and this is just a dream. Daniel pulls out Nathan's body and tells him to face reality. Nathan asks if they're ghosts. How did Daniel just pull the body out? Daniel says he has no idea. He is just as new to this as Nathan. Next, the two men see a car approaching, and Nathan immediately rushes to ask the driver for help. The driver doesn't hear him, and Daniel reminds Nathan that he's a ghost. Nathan says that maybe the driver can call for help and he can be revived, but the driver just steals Nathan's wallet and leaves. Nathan finally comes to terms with the reality of the situation. Nathan asks Daniel that if this is the afterlife, does this mean that heaven and hell are real too? Daniel says they will find out. Nathan asks if one can go to heaven if they've killed someone, and Daniel inquires if Nathan has done that. Nathan says he sort of killed his wife, but not in the way he thinks. It's complicated. Suddenly, Daniel starts hearing music. He says it's the most beautiful music he's ever heard. Nathan can't hear anything. A white door appears in the distance, and Daniel says the music is coming from it. He realizes that it's the door to the next world. He's about to enter, but then another door appears on the other side. A red one. Now, Nathan can hear something too, but it's not music. It's more like screams. They both realize what's happening. Nathan starts panicking at the prospect of going to hell. He says that he deserves a chance to explain himself. His wife was sick. He was only putting her out of her misery. Daniel tells him murder is murder, and he gets angry. He tries to go through Daniel's door, but it doesn't work. Daniel laughs. He says Nathan doesn't act like a good man. A good man accepts his past actions and their present consequences. Nathan gets angry, but Daniel reminds him that he just killed Daniel in the accident, so if anything, he is owed an apology. Nathan calms down and apologizes. Daniel forgives him and admits that he was distracted too by a little girl that he saw playing by the side of the road. They say their goodbyes, and Daniel prepares to walk through the door to heaven. However, it doesn't work. He gets confused and says that he suddenly can't hear the music. A little girl appears behind them, and Daniel suddenly remembers that he did not manage to avoid her. He drove right into her and killed her. Nathan can't believe he did that, and Daniel admits that he was coming from a party and had had a few drinks. Nathan finally has a chance to condescend Daniel, but Daniel reminds him that he killed his wife for life insurance money. Nathan asks how he knows that, and Daniel says the dead know everything. The little girl asks why he just said that, and they realize that she is not aware of what's happened. They tell her the truth, and she tells them that they will go to hell for what they've done to her. They try to show her the way to heaven, but she doesn't let them. Daniel starts hearing the screams from hell and decides he's had enough. He throws the girl into heaven and watches the door disappear. Helpless, the two men accept their fate and start walking toward hell. At the doorstep, Daniel says he doesn't like that they have to willingly walk in. He would have preferred being forced. Nathan complies and kicks him in. He sticks around and tries to argue with God that his wife wanted to die but gets no response. He gets angry and says that all that talk about forgiveness and redemption in the Bible is clearly nonsense. He stays adamant that he will not walk in willingly, but then a demonic creature appears and he has no choice but to walk through the door. Nathan enters hell and sees a little girl lying there amongst thousands of other condemned souls. He kneels over her, saddened to see her there, and grabs her hand. He gets a glimpse into her life. The girl, named Jean, wakes up in her bed where she can hear her parents arguing. The mother is saying that they need to stay strong for their daughter and give her love and support, but the father says that there is something wrong with her, and she is not like other girls her age. Jean opens her bedroom curtains and sees strange entities outside the window. She then proceeds to make jam and toast with a very suggestive knife. Next, a psychologist interviews Jean, and it is revealed that she is a complete psychopath who admits to hurting her little sister and her parents and feeling no remorse for it. Next, Jean is sitting at the breakfast table demanding that breakfast be served to her, but no one listens. A little while later, she is seen carrying a bowl of cereal and checking up on the dead bodies of her parents. She makes some jam and toast and heads down to the basement, where she calls out to someone named Tony. A man with a highly disfigured face appears, and Jean scolds him for killing her mother and father because now they'll have to learn how to manage without them. Tony swears that he didn't do it, but she doesn't listen. She gives him the sandwich and says that he can come upstairs now since there is no one to see him. They come up to the mansion, and Tony is delighted to see light for the first time. Jean tells him to bathe and clean himself up while she tries on makeup and jewelry. She is relieved that she can now do whatever she wants with no one to stop her. Meanwhile, Tony feels water for the first time, and he can't get enough of it. Next, the two wonder what to do with the dead bodies, and they decide to hide them under the bed. However, before they do that, the little psychopath decides to put on a play for her dead mother and father, where she declares Tony responsible for their death and hangs him. Afterward, Jean arrives in her mother and father's room and declares herself a princess. She tries on her mother's clothes in the mirror, and Tony joins her. However, he can't see himself. He asks why that is, and Jean replies that it's best if he doesn't see himself. Next, a delivery man arrives at the door and says that he needs an adult to sign for the package. Jean calls out to Tony, but he doesn't answer. She rushes inside to discover him eating her mother's body. She screams, and he tells her to go away. He doesn't want her to see him like this. Next, Jean arrives in her sister Claire's room and tells her that Tony killed their parents. Claire asks if he's going to kill her too, and Jean replies he will. She asks if she can at least finish her drawing first. That is so gangster. Unfortunately, Jean says she can't because Tony is hungry. She brings Claire to the kitchen, puts her in the oven, and turns it on. As she walks away while Claire screams, demonic shadows are seen following her. Back in hell, Nathan opens his eyes, having witnessed Jean's horrifying life. He crawls over to a woman and her daughter and begins experiencing theirs. The woman, named Julia, is sitting in her kitchen, holding back tears, and calling out to her daughter, Chloe, saying they'll be late. She goes into the bathroom, and it is revealed that she is talking to Chloe's dead body in the tub. She has killed herself by slitting her wrists. Crying uncontrollably, Julia pulls the body out of the tub. Completely delusional, she sits the body on a chair and serves it dinner while making conversation. A flashback shows that Julia is a single mom raising Chloe on her own. Due to her busy routine at work, she has no idea that Chloe is getting severely bullied at school. Due to the bullying, Chloe is hesitant to go to school every day, while Julia is just annoyed and says that they can't go through this fuss every morning. Chloe tries to tell her mother that school is not going well, and Julia just assumes that it's because she has joined in the middle of the year and needs some time to adjust. She tells Chloe to toughen up and that it will eventually be okay, not giving her a chance to explain what is really going on. In the present, she puts Chloe's body in a wheelchair and says that they are going on a vacation. She adds that she should have done this a long time ago and shouldn't have neglected Chloe because of work, but it is not too late, and they can still make up for lost time. Her delusion keeps breaking in between as she cries, but she continues packing. She tells Chloe that even though she hasn't always been there for her, she loves her very much. She even says that Chloe doesn't have to go to school anymore because she will teach Chloe herself. Finally, she arrives at the front door, but when she opens it, she only sees a brick wall. A flashback shows Chloe being bullied in the school bathroom. The bullies force her to kiss their feet and threaten to cut her face if she doesn't comply. In the present, the brick wall disappears, and Julia sees her neighbor standing at the door. She tries to tell her that she's in a hurry, but her neighbor notices that she's behaving very oddly. She enters the house and is shocked at Chloe's dead body. Next, Julia is seen driving with Chloe's body in the front seat. She says that she watched her grow up into a strong, beautiful woman all her life, but at some point she stopped watching. She apologizes profusely, but then, finally, her delusion breaks. She accepts her daughter's death and closes her eyes. She then closes her own eyes and proceeds to crash the car into a tree. Unfortunately, she survives the accident, and the firefighters arrive to pull her out of the car, despite her protests. Back in hell, Nathan opens his eyes, filled with pain and sorrow from the horrors that he is having to witness and live through. He falls to the ground with the weight of it. Then, a demonic being arrives and says that he will be Nathan's guide through eternal torture. Nathan asks if that is all there is here, and the demon says that it depends on your worldly deeds. Nathan argues that his wife was sick and had lost her mind, but he loved her, and whatever he did out of love. The demon says that he's not here to judge, he is just going to carry out the sentence. Nathan realizes that he has no choice but to endure this till the end of time, and the demon points out that there is no end to time in hell. The demon says that Nathan's suffering will start with 4,000 years of quarantine in isolation, until the very idea of his human body vanishes, and all that's left of him is a spirit that only knows suffering and anguish. He takes Nathan to the place where he will be quarantined. Nathan says that he will never be able to take 4,000 years in here, but the demon says that that is the point, subjecting him to that which he cannot bear for eternity, and making sure he never gets used to it. He adds that 4,000 years is nothing compared to what will come after it. The demon leaves, and Nathan starts panicking. He hears movement behind him and turns around to see a monstrous being get up. The monster begins brutally beating Nathan up, and he keeps the beating going until Nathan is a pulp. Nathan gets knocked out. The monster tries to wake him up, but to no avail. The monster seems to regret this. The demon from earlier returns and scolds the monster, saying that because of his idiocy, a damned soul has been reincarnated. This was not supposed to happen. It is revealed that Nathan has been reborn. The demon sets the monster to the task of finding the reborn Nathan and bringing him back. Next, the reincarnated Nathan is sleeping in his crib at night, blissfully unaware that the monster is sitting on a couch in front of him, getting ready to take him back to hell. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.